Oh, that's right. Oh, but
And we're live.
oh my goodness gracious, we're live. Okay. Greetings, hello, and welcome everybody. I'm Gloria Felt. I'm co-founder and president of Take the Lead, and I'm very excited about this webcast today because we're going to get to talk about something near and dear to my heart, and I think everybody's heart, and one of our greatest needs, and that is mentoring, getting a mentor and being a mentor. I had to just start with a reference to the amazing women's Olympic gymnastic team, the U.S. Olympic gymnastic team. Oh my goodness, don't you just love those women? They are so fabulous. And what I have been most impressed with is what we call it, Take the Lead. You know, we even have a hashtag for it, hashtag Sister Courage. Sister Courage is exactly what I think they exemplify. When you look at those 5 young women, it's like it's a one person with 10 legs and 10 arms. They all are so, they're also tuned into each other, and they obviously so support each other. And so as I was looking at a picture of them this morning, I just thought, well, that is the perfect lead-in for us to be thinking about as we think about our topic today of mentoring. So we have a great, wonderful panel today. We have Eileen Carey, who's the CEO of Glassbreakers. Hi, Eileen. Give a wave. Say hi to everybody. Okay. We have a wonderful new partnership, and it's called Glassbreakers Take the Lead. And I'm so excited about it. I think, you know, all of you who've been coming to our virtual happy hours and coming to our website or get our that Take the Lead's mission is to prepare, develop, inspire, and propel women to take their fair and equal share of leadership positions across every sector by 2025. And people say, well, how are you going to do that? And so we've been able to tell them, well, we do training and we do role modeling events and we do some thought leadership, but we have just begun to be able to say, and the develop part, which is the mentoring part, now we actually can do that too. So when you go to Take the Lead's website, taketheleadwomen.com, you just click on mentor, and you can get right to Glassbreakers Take the Lead. If you're not already signed up, please sign up now, and we can't wait to have you as part of this program because it's really fantastic. I have been using it, and I have been part of Glassbreakers since before we had Glassbreakers Take the Lead. So I've had the experience of mentors, and when one of the people that I've been matched with, Matrika, is here, and you'll be meeting her in just a moment. So let me get to that just momentarily. You can learn a lot more about Take the Lead and Glassbreakers Take the Lead by going to the website, taketheleadwomen.com, and clicking on Mentor. And also, we want your questions. So be sure that you can tweet your questions in to @TakeLeadWomen, and we'll be getting them. Yeah, I imagine, somebody tell me if I'm wrong, because we are doing this a little differently today, but I think you can just type them into the Google Hangout chat box too, and we'll be able to follow them. And any which way, we want to get your questions and answer your questions, and we have a lot of folks who can tell you what you want to hear about mentoring and Glassbreakers and Take the Lead and Glassbreakers Take the Lead, any of those. So let us know when you do that where you're tuning in from and what your name is so we can address you properly. Thank you very much for that. Also, you can find Eileen on Twitter at Eileen M. Carey, right? I put that little M in there. And you can find Glassbreakers at Glassbreakers Co. And you can find Take the Lead again at Take Lead Women. And I am Gloria Felt at Gloria Felt. Okay. All right. So I want to just start, Eileen, by recognizing you and thanking you so much for having created this wonderful company. And in a minute, we're going to ask you to tell us about Glassbreakers and why and how and what it is and all of that. But first, let me just quickly introduce our other guests, Matrika Bailey-Turner. Matrika, why don't you wave? Say hi to folks.
Hello.
So Matrika and I were actually matched. So we have been mentoring each other already, and that's the cool thing about the Glassbreakers idea, is that everybody can be a mentor, everybody can get a mentor, and everybody can be both of those things simultaneously or separately or however it works best for you. Matrika works in corporate social responsibility at NBC UNI to be exact. We also are very pleased to have with us today one of our fabulous Take the Lead Leadership Ambassadors, Sandy Rice. So Sandy, would you wave so everybody can see who you are? So Sandy is a project manager in her day job at the Manpower Group, and she participated in a Take the Lead, and she can come to you anytime to do the 9 leadership power tools to advance your career training. So thank you all so much for being here. And Sandy and Matrika, I'd like to come back to you guys in just a minute, but I'd like to start by asking Eileen to kind of kick us off by telling us about why Glassbreakers, why now, why you, why did you do this, what brought you here, why are you you, and tell us everything you want to tell us about Glassbreakers and what we need to know about it.
Sure, yeah. So I began my journey in the, I guess, diversity and inclusion space in my early 20s when I started a career at Citigroup on Wall Street. I was a part of numerous women's networks. My mother had worked at Citigroup. My aunt was a part of the New York radical feminist movement. So my whole life was very much shaped by feminism and being a strong woman and looking forward to achieving success in the workplace. At Citi, there were a lot of strong mentorship programs, women's networks, but I thought that for the next step in my career, I wanted to go work in the technology industry because that's where you go to make the world a better place. So I moved from New York to Silicon Valley, and in that journey, I discovered that things were really different out west. There wasn't the same support network for women. There were barely any women in leadership, much less people of color in any of the workplaces that I'd been interviewing with. And I saw this real opportunity to try and change that. In the tech sector, everybody's trying to solve these really big, hard problems. And I thought that diversity in the workforce was a really big, hard problem that could be solved. So I started working on an algorithm that could help connect people to peer mentors. If we could connect each other to people based on personal and professional commonalities, like being a woman and being a vet and being an engineer, then maybe we could help keep people in the workforce. We could make people feel like they weren't the only one on their team. So we built a consumer product for Glassbreakers that created this algorithm that used LinkedIn data as well as personal interests and professional interests to create these incredibly data-driven connections to facilitate peer mentorship. Mentorship in the workforce is definitely broke. The idea of somebody very senior mentoring someone junior does not work for underrepresented groups because there are far too many mentees for mentors available. But peer mentorship is a way to enable people that are like-minded, maybe in similar places in their careers, to help each other. So we've launched a consumer product, we've launched a small product for smaller businesses, we've launched an enterprise product, and then we've also launched Glassbreakers Take the Lead, which is an exclusive opportunity and an exclusive community for women across companies to be able to connect to their peer mentors and also have leadership resources from the Take the Lead leadership team.
So it sounds, when you talk about algorithmically matching people and being, when you said incredibly data-driven, somehow, we have this idea of people mentoring each other as being more of a human sort of thing. So how does that all work together? How does that work, in case people are antsy about it?
Yeah. So the whole point of Glassbreakers is to create empathy by getting people offline. So with the product, you sign in and you put in what your professional interests are, what your personal interests are. You can upload your LinkedIn profile, and with that, we're pulling in information like where you went to university, what companies you work at, where you used to work, what languages you speak, your location, to run our algorithm, and then the algorithm creates these curated introductions. Now, with those curated introductions, you are invited together. So it's not supposed to be, messaging people. It's about doing face-to-face meetings. You can get together for coffee or drinks or lunch or dinner or a video call like a Google Hangout or a phone call. The whole point being that we all have something that we can offer each other. The algorithm lets you know what you have in common, what skill sets, where, professional interests, all of those data points, so that there's a jumping off point for the conversation, and so you two can kind of land in places and then begin to facilitate a deeper relationship with others who share those same kind of professional interests. The whole goal being, if we can all network in a way that saves us time, instead of just jumping into a room and going to some happy hour where you've got to get past the small talk to figure out, well, what do we actually have in common? This is a data-driven approach, so you know what you have in common with somebody, so then you can begin those relationships and create peer mentors that you can go to and turn to when you need them for that specific advice.
So so you don't have to start with the and what do you do when you first meet somebody? Yes, that makes it much more comfortable. It makes it much more comfortable. I think you kind of warmed it all up. That's great. So actually, Matrika and I immediately went to the Let's Have Coffee. Matrika, tell us about how you came to Glassbreakers Take the Lead, and what has it done for you?
Yeah, I think I came across Glassbreakers through the Muse or a similar newsletter, and I was searching for a network that was more focused on women. Coming off of the Lean In, era of things. I am rather very active in LinkedIn, but I was looking for something that was, and no offense to LinkedIn, but less transactional. And I was immediately drawn to the idea of Glassbreakers really providing, a platform where women can immediately connect, as you and I did, Gloria, and mentor each other and sort of create connections easier without as much awkward silences or sort of, the transactional nature that LinkedIn can be. And I got onto Glassbreakers and immediately connected with a bunch of different women.
So when we first met up, you said that you were new to New York. Actually, at that point, that you had found out about it before you moved here. Is that right? And then I
actually found out about it around the same time that I moved to New York. So
for you, it was also a way of starting to meet people.
Yes.
In your new city.
Absolutely. It was a way to connect across the city. I mean, this place, I come from D.C., and so New York is a different animal. And so it was a good way for me to meet women that I probably would honestly never run in the street, because there's a way that you can avoid everyone in New York. So it was a great tool in helping me find new relationships.
Thank you so much. Sandy, how about you? What would you tell us about mentoring for you, and how has it been for you?
Well, I was really fortunate when I was working in the Czech Republic that I got a wonderful mentor who's made all the difference in my life. And it was one of those situations where it was the perfect storm of things that came together. But I realized in the job that I work in right now, there are about 10,000 of us in North America in my company, and some people are out there in their own little office all by themselves, and connection to people other than the customers that they work with. So this is a wonderful opportunity for them to have mentors when they might be in quite a remote area. And I am definitely, as the co-chair of our Women's BRG at Manpower Group, I am telling everybody, get on this so that you can find yourself a mentor that might be in your own area, so that you can go out and have coffee with them and you can network within your community. And I too had that same experience when I lived in in Chattanooga. I was out there with no one, and this would have been a wonderful thing for me at that time, because I really did need to make that kind of connection when I was working out of the house. So
yeah.
Also,
as so many of us.
I would just like to touch on, because we're talking about locations. So with Glassbreakers, just so everybody knows our profile, the algorithm will connect you to women in Tokyo and Shanghai, all over the world. Mm-hmm. But if you want to connect with people in your location, go to settings on your account, and there's a little button, and you can click, I only want introductions in my location, and then you will only get introduced to people in your location. So just so everybody knows that you can change your settings so that you're only introduced to people in your city. Otherwise, you can get introduced to people around the world.
Well, thank you. I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
really,
handy little fun fact.
that's a
Yeah.
handy little fun fact to know. Absolutely, and I suppose you can switch it back and forth as will fit your needs at any given time. And I
Yeah.
think from that example and from what Matrika and Sandy have both said, what one of the things that strikes me is that mentoring is not a one size fits all kind of thing. And there is no exactly one right way to do it. There are many right ways to do it. I was thinking as I was preparing for this that there is no question in my mind that I would not be where I am today if it had not been for a mentor whom I did not even know was a mentor when I first started to work. And she was a woman who kept giving me new assignments and asking me to do assignments that I wouldn't have probably raised my hand for and taken on my own. And it was many years later when I realized that's what she was doing. She was actually mentoring me. She was pushing me to try new things and to do new things. So I have had a lot of people in my life who I haven't known were actually essentially helping me in the way of a mentor, and hopefully I have done that for other people as well. But how cool it is to have this platform where you can be transparent and explicit about it, and you can say specifically, I have this to offer, and I would like to share these skills, and I need this advice or I need this connection, and I'm going to ask for it. And so that's, I mean, it's such a huge, giant step forward. So Matrika and Sandy, have you had, tell us about other experiences that you've had and maybe what you think it is that makes a mentoring relationship work. Like, are there questions that you start with, or are there things that you start the relationship off with that you think get it off to a good process?
You know, one of the things that I'm thinking about what you just said, Gloria, and that mentorship that I had in the Czech Republic, it wasn't searched out. It happened organically. We were put in the same place. She was my boss, and it became this perfect relationship of mentoring. However, I've had relationships that are more peer-based, where we're helping each other, like joining a new company. You find that person that can help you kind of get through the rough spots in the company and navigate, especially in a corporation where in my company, there are 35,000 people worldwide working for the company. So it does take a little bit of, having these peer mentors that can help you through that. But not only that, in your industry itself, having those peer mentors in the industry. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the really great things that you can find from just meeting somebody that's doing the same kind of thing as you, or has the same interests as you, or maybe in the same area as you.
Beautiful, beautiful. That again harkens me back to the Olympic team, because when you hear them talk, what you hear them say over and over again is how they support each other. Mm-hmm. And they are peers, and they are also competitors. Mm-hmm. But they are peers, and they support each other in all kinds of very obvious and probably not such obvious kinds of ways. So what about you, Matrika? Are there any specific ways that you would suggest people would start out a mentoring relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I would just dovetail on what Sandy said. Finding those commonalities are really easy ways to begin conversations and begin conversations. But for me, and maybe this is just endemic to me, but I like to find out what's different. And then, especially with my peer relationships and mentorships, we see how we can help each other and how we can learn from each other and grow together. That's one of the things that I love the most about Glassbreakers is I've been exposed to women that I would never run into at a conference or be it in New York City, that I can just learn so much from just through this one connection point.
So Eileen practices what makes a mentoring relationship work or not, and things that people should know.
Sorry, can you repeat that really quickly?
Sure. Now that you have been doing, I'm sorry, Matrika, I think you might have been still talking. Did I interrupt you?
Oh no, I'm done.
Gloria?
Eileen, whilst Gloria is getting back on, her question was if you had any best practices for uh, using Glassbreakers and for creating that mentor relationship.
Yeah, I would say the first, I would say the most important part is being extremely vulnerable, and not being fearful about being vulnerable and being very honest, especially in that first meeting of like what your challenges are, because you're never going to get the help that you need unless you are honest about why you're there. For me personally, like this is my first time being a CEO, and I use Glassbreakers to connect with other women who are running startups. Um, I've been very, very, very humbled through this experience because there are a lot of mistakes. But the best way for me to move forward and jump over hurdles is by getting advice from others. So I think just being honest and vulnerable and authentic will take you a lot further in your mentor relationships, and it also allows the person that you're developing a peer mentor relationship with to be vulnerable around you. So, and I think that also means being honest about maybe what your personal issues might be that are hindering your professional issues. So that could be maybe you have a child that is special needs, or all of a sudden you have jumped into a caregiver role. The beauty of Glassbreakers is that aside from the professional reasons that you're connected with people, there's also those kind of like personal issues that may affect your day-to-day. So I would say the best way to move forward with a lot of your peer mentor relationships is to just let it all out there and ask for help, and then give help when you can.
Eileen, I think that's really great advice. That's one of the things that I think I was missing early in my career, was being more vulnerable, like you said, and asking for help. And over the past, I would say 3 years, I've used that technique so much more and had so much more success with that. So those are great tips for somebody who is looking to have their first mentorship, or looking for a mentorship somehow, and explaining what they want to do with their career.
Yeah, I mean, one of my early mentors at work was my boss, who was going through a really rough divorce, and it affected her every day. And I was working underneath her, and she was like a very strong woman, and she gave me so much amazing advice. But there was like a 4-month period where she was really suffering, and I was able to step in there and cover for her in a lot of ways because she was vulnerable, and I knew what was going on at home and that that was affecting her day to day. But her success was my success. And if she wasn't successful, I wasn't going to be successful. So because we were both really honest with each other, like we could get through that period and that rough patch together, and like make each other stronger. So I think like a lot of times you can put up blocks and barriers about who you are, what's going on, but if you're not like totally transparent, then you risk other people not being transparent with you. So that's been my experience so far, and it's worked out, you know. And I'm very open and honest about like all my flaws as well, because I don't know, there's no reason to hide them.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because that's my power story with my mentor as well. Is when I got off the plane in the Czech Republic and I saw her jumping up and down in the airport, I thought, oh, heck no. And then I decided not. I decided to let her be the crazy person that she was, and it be perfect relationship, the perfect mentorship. So I think you're absolutely correct about that, is, be vulnerable and stop using those walls that you've created, and magical things happen when you do that.
So a lot of the, hi, I'm Maria, I work with Take the Lead. So Gloria is having a little bit of technical difficulty. I think that's the theme right now, but we are going to roll with it. So while she is trying to get signed back on, I'll continue with moderating the conversation. So it seems like there's a balance, and friendships can form through the mentoring relationship that you build, and that seems like what you just touched on. I know I'll just want to make a quick announcement that if you're tuning in and you are really excited about Glassbreakers like we are, we would love for you to go ahead and sign up to start creating your own profile and start getting your matches. And you can do that by going to taketheleadwomen.com, click on mentoring, and start building your profile today. So we actually have a question from Trika on other tips for using Glassbreakers to up your mentoring game.
Oh, that was my question. Yeah, I mean, I'm meeting a lot of women from across, the country and the city. But are there any best practices or tips and tricks that I may be able to use to really leverage my experience and get the most out of it?
Oh yeah, so you can hack your profile.
I like that. That sounds great.
Yeah. So okay, so you can hack your profile. So if you what I do is so I've had to learn about how to manage engineers, how to do enterprise sales, how to do HR all in 1 year. I had no experience in that. I'm a marketing and
incredible
comms person. Yeah, right. And all of a sudden it's oh, I got this whole big job. And so I had to figure out well, what's best. Okay, how do you fire someone the right way? That's hard. So on Glassbreakers, I hacked my profile and I made HR one of my professional interests, and then professional interests, and then under skill sets I put people operations, and I put 7 to 10 years, because that way I knew I would get connected to somebody that had more experience than I did.
That's really smart.
Yeah. So, and same with engineering. Whenever I was recruiting engineers or I needed help managing engineers, I would hack my profile and I would put engineering, machine learning, 7 to 10 years, so that I would get connected to those type of women. So that would be one way I would say that you can really optimize your experience, is to hack the algorithm to get what you want and to connect with the type of person that you want to connect with. And then on your About Me section, just be super I'm on this, I'm using Glassbreakers Take the Lead because I would like to get a promotion at work and I'm stuck in how to ask for it, because then that person who you get connected to knows that's what you're there for, right? And they can either help you or not. And then I would also say be very aggressive in terms of you got your send a message about why, look at their information, stalk them online, it's Glassbreakers. People I feel are very transparent. You're expected to go do the research about somebody and to know what their background is. So then ask them, say oh, it's cool, I saw that you used to work at the Clinton Foundation and now you're at NBC. Would love to grab coffee. Here's the schedule to get together, and then follow up.
That's great. That's super, super helpful.
I love that you can hack. When you first mentioned the opportunity to hack your profile and to optimize and switch so that you can get introduced to a whole other set of individuals, I think that's a really rich part of the program, because of the software, because it gives you the opportunity to really be like a user 2.0 where so you're really active in your Glassbreakers. You're not just leaving you're just not leaving it to the enterprise software just so that it does it for you. So that's
yeah, exactly. It's a technology, you can manipulate it.
Yes. So we have a couple of folks who are on the Google Hangout. We got Angie and Nicole and Yara and Lorraine. I'm just checking in to see if you might have any questions. You can unmute yourself and jump right in. And if you're shy, we have a question from Julianne in Brooklyn. And this is for Eileen and Gloria. But fortunately, Gloria seems to still have technical problems. But the question is, can you use Glassbreakers to find sponsorships as well as mentors?
So sponsorships are totally different. If you are in a company, a sponsor is somebody that advocates for you. So there's a totally different thing. So in our enterprise platform, if you use Glassbreakers internally at a big company, we are partnered with a few Fortune 500 organizations. You can start building sponsor relationships out because people can know that that's somebody who wants to be an advocate. But a sponsor across companies isn't the same thing. So I would say a peer mentor relationship is less formal. A sponsor is somebody that you expect to go to bat for you. Like, sponsor is somebody that's going to make sure that if they're making budget cuts or whatever, you're not going to get fired. A sponsor is going to be somebody that's going to try and get you promoted. So I would say that there are differences between sponsors and mentors. And with Glassbreakers Take the Lead, it's definitely a mentorship platform. And sponsors are something that you should really seek, inside your company. Or as I see a note here that a sponsor is someone who has skin in your game.
So you can get tips on how to find a sponsor from your mentoring relationship, but not an actual sponsor.
I mean, I would say like be like anyone else. Just be aggressive in your company. Look for people like pattern recognition. People like to help people that remind them of themselves. So whether that's a man or a woman, go look for somebody that you see yourself in as well, and start getting coffee with them. Ask them to go for lunch. People are pretty kind, I find, especially if you're just like, I would like to get to know you. And then just make the ask. Have you ever sponsored somebody? Do you have a sponsor relationship at the company before? Would you be open to working on a sponsor relationship with me?
I actually had one of my mentors introduce me to my current sponsor. So the relationships that you build in your mentorships can lead to that very valuable sponsorship that you might need in a corporation to get ahead. So that was definitely something that was a win for me in all ways and forms, was having that mentorship within the company and then moving up into a sponsorship with somebody else through that introduction.
I have to keep remembering to unmute myself. Okay, so we have another question. We sort of talked about this a little bit with the hacking, but Eileen, maybe you can chat a little bit more about, so the question, I'll read the question. It's from Carrie in Seattle, and she says, I'm not very outgoing and often dread going to networking events, so Glassbreakers might be perfect for me. So her question is, what can I do to make sure that my profile better reflects that I'm looking for a mentor, that I'm actively seeking a mentor?
Yeah, so just remember that everybody's a mentor, that it's not like everybody has something that they can offer and something that they can learn from. So I've had a lot of relationships with women who are, let's say, 15 years older than me, who were definitely my mentors, but I was very, very good at social media in my career, and so I entered the corporate communication sphere as like the kid who was good at Twitter. So I was teaching my bosses all about Snapchat and Twitter and like what the kids were doing, and I was mentoring them. So I think what you can do with your profile is just be very specific that you're excited to look for somebody that can help mentor you on these areas. So like, I need mentorship in, and it could be personal stuff like speaking up at work, getting a raise, trying to get a promotion, being more authoritative, not letting people undercut me. And here's how I can mentor other people. And list out what the skill sets are that you bring to the table, because everybody brings something to the table. It could even be that you're like fluent in Spanish and you'd be willing to help somebody out there, but everybody has something that they can offer. So I would say, like, try and make those relationships fluid, and people are going to want to invest more time in you if there's a mutually beneficial aspect to the time that they're spending with you as well. Like, I do get a lot. I personally put aside an hour every single week for a mentor meeting with other women CEOs. For the most part, these are women who haven't like fundraised before, or they're just starting their company, and so I know that the first introductory meeting might be me helping them out, but then it's a pocket full of favors. So I'm putting an hour of my time into helping them and mentoring them on an issue, but I'm going to have a moment where I'm going to need their help. Like right now, we're trying to lease out our office space so I can move our team to a new office in Oakland. And so I'm reaching out to all of those women that I spent an hour with to say, like, hey, like, I need you for a favor now. And they're being super, super helpful. So, like, go into everything knowing that it's a two-way street.
I really love the idea that everybody's a mentor, because, we all mutually can learn things from each other. And when we say get a mentor, be a mentor, we don't really, I think a lot of people feel like, yes, I totally need a mentor. But when we go into it saying we all have something to give, that's really, really great. So I was wondering if anyone of the new people who joined, if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll check and see if Sandy has a question.
Sure. One of my questions was, how can we use Glassbreakers for, like I was explaining, we have a lot of people who work remotely in the field, and they might be the only person or one of two people in their office in the field. So they're kind of in a mentoring desert. So what would you say to those people about how to use Glassbreakers to find their mentors?
Yeah, I mean, so we have video chat and we have phone chats as options. I do a lot of mentor meetings via video chat and WebEx. They're honestly preferable these days because I'm too busy. So like, it's just, be very aggressive on, hey, like, let's set up this Google Hangout. Because you can, I mean, I've done therapy via Google Hangout and Skype. Like, you get the same, it's still face-to-face, right? Like, you're still, like, receiving empathy. You're still, like, getting to know somebody. You don't always have to, like, take 15 minutes to go to a coffee shop and walk down. You can get that same type of support system via video chat, I believe. And that's been really crucial and critical to make the most of my time as well.
That's really good advice, because I know when I was working 100% remote, having the video portion of WebEx to be able to have conversations with people was everything. Although I did have a cat that I always thought she needed to go in front of the camera when I was doing it. But that brought people together as well.
That's more fun. Everyone loves cats. Well, I do, but
Is that why the crazy cat lady tag is on Glassbreakers?
It is just cat lady, the crazy stereotype.
Okay, you're right. I'm a crazy dog lover myself, so I don't hold it against you.
Yeah, so Glassbreakers, you can connect with other cat ladies who are also, working in conferences is huge, right? Because at the end of the day, like, we need to get to know each other, and we need to get to know each other, I think, through face-to-face.
And I think as much as we want to get down to business and skip past the going to networking events and figuring out what to say, sometimes that personal connection and the fun things about us are the things that people might initially be drawn to a little bit more. So yeah, I do appreciate those tags that allow people to reflect their personal things.
And I think that, like, with networking events, I was the queen of those because I was a publicist. So I would just go to all these networking events and I'd crawl around with all these journalists. But what good does it really do? I mean, like, sure, you meet people, you shake hands, like, whatever. I think if you're really trying to move ahead in your career and you're trying to maximize your time management, it's these one-on-one 30-minute conversations that are what is going to, like, lead to new opportunities. So I think the more you can connect with people one-on-one as opposed to, like, that big group dynamic. In big groups, it's hard to be vulnerable.
So this is like a more kind of technical question, Eileen, and so since we were talking about privacy and things that are very personal to us, I know one of the things that the Glassbreakers allows people to do is identify however they feel like they want to, come to the platform and identify. And I know when we spoke a while back at the initial launch, we talked a little bit about privacy. Yeah. And we have gotten some feedback from people about what they should disclose and how much. Can you tell us a little bit about all the work that you've done to make sure that it's private and how that reflects in the algorithm and how people should just feel great about doing it?
Yeah. So we built a fortress around our data, literally. It's, like, insanely encrypted. We have these different multi-tenants on the back end so that within each community, so there's, like, Take the Lead, and then there's, like, Company X, Company Y, Company Z. The data never crosses paths. So with the way that the data is set up in our system for the personal tags, nobody has access to that data. We don't have access to that data. Take the Lead doesn't have access to the data. The only time that a personal interest tag is ever presented to another person on Glassbreakers Take the Lead is if they have, like if I identify as trans and then I'm connected to another person who identifies as trans, the algorithm will say you two were introduced because you both identified as trans. But if I identify as trans and someone else does not, then that will never appear. So you can see on your profile all of those personal tags, be it cat lady, expecting parent, vet, woman of color, etc. Those don't appear on your profile. So identity tag is ever made apparent to another individual is if you're curatedly introduced to them and they have that tag. So we take our privacy very, very seriously. The government cannot subpoena us for that data. We operate internationally as well, no employer. Our product is so secure that we work with like some of the most intense Fortune 100 companies in terms of like large multinational corporations that are Japanese origin, German origin. So our data retention and our privacy and security policies are really best in class. So if anybody has any issues with their, or questions for their data, we have all of our privacy policies available at Glassbreakers Take the Lead. And then in the FAQ section, we also have some very strict guidelines on what we do with our data, and that data is never swarm. And again, that individual data is very, very, very important to us to maintain its privacy.
So it's a very safe place.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, or we'll get sued. So like we don't mess around with it.
Okay, so people should be very, very comfortable with disclosing, and it's just going to enhance.
And if you're not comfortable, then don't do it. If you live in Kuwait and you are LGBT and you are not sure if you should identify as being LGBT, because you don't want to get matched with somebody in Kuwait who's also it's up to you, right? We just want to help. If being able to identify as LGBT in a place where maybe it's illegal will allow you to connect with other peer mentors who also identify as such, please do it. If it's something that you're not comfortable with, like you don't want anyone to know those tags, then don't do it. It's up to your own discretion. But again, nobody will ever see those tags except for other peer mentors who have identified as such.
Great. So I just want to invite the folks who are in the Hangout, if you have a question, just unmute yourself and ask away. In the meantime, we have another question from Atrika.
Yeah, sorry. If a lot of questions that I get from people that are interested in Glassbreakers, they want to know how long it takes to create a mentorship or a connection. I think they were trying to ask me, like, okay, so I'm connected to these women, is there a best practices for how many times you should speak online before taking it offline?
Oh, go offline immediately.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, just don't, yeah, no.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah, why go back and forth? Just say, hey, let's get coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, what's up?
Right.
It's we're on this because we need to network with our peers. We need to understand each other. You can also throw relationships away. If someone doesn't have value to you, okay, be kind, be generous, be helpful. But if you two really aren't going to be able to help each other in your careers, then you don't have to maintain it. But if you meet somebody that is going to have a lot of value and you can bring a lot of value to them, any friendship, just keep going with it. So I would say just get offline as soon as possible. And then we also have reminders on Glassbreakers. So
great.
Schedule a get-together on Glassbreakers. We integrate with your calendars, and then the system is able to know when your meetup is. So you'll get a reminder that you've got your meetup or your get-together coming up. And then 2 weeks afterwards, you'll get a reminder of hey, we know, you got together with Allison 2 weeks ago. Why don't you guys schedule another get-together? So the product will automatically remind you to maintain these relationships.
That's great. That's
and
awesome.
On that note, I'm wondering, when people have time commitments, what's the general time commitment for folks when life jumps in, or, for instance, a super big work project comes in? How guilty should we feel?
You can always pause your introductions. So you can go to the settings page and you can pause new intros. So you're only going to get introductions every 2 weeks. So if you've got like a huge workload, pause your introduction and then come back at when you're ready.
That's great. So no feeling guilty about not responding to people, or
I would say always respond to somebody, but respond with like, hey, lovely to meet you. This is a really bad time, but I will circle back in 2 weeks when things get back, when things get better. And by then they'll have a new introduction. So like I wouldn't necessarily feel guilty, but just be transparent.
Yeah. That's good. Good tips for using Glassbreakers. Any other questions from the folks on the call? Okay, so I just want to remind folks that you can sign up right now. Once we started rolling out, a lot of people expressed interest and asked for the invitation. You can go to taketheleadwomen.com to sign up right now. Click on Mentor, and as Eileen said, we have matches that happen on Tuesdays. So I've already been matched with someone all the way in Arizona who is also interested in doing events and nonprofits. So I've so far met some interesting people.
Awesome. Yeah, and then you can also go to takethelead.glassbreakers.co as well.
So you request your invitation, and once you get it, you sign up for and build your profile.
And the other fun fact is Glassbreakers Take the Lead is just for anyone who identifies as a woman. So this is still a safe and inclusive space for women, trans women and cis women, but we still are gender gated to males. So you'll be introduced to peer mentors still within the women's community.
And one of the great things about Glassbreakers Take the Lead is that because it's connected to Take the Lead, we are a women's leadership nonprofit. So, of course, these are pretty driven folks who are self-selecting in. So, all wonderful group of women.
Yeah, everybody that's on the platform is incredibly helpful, and I've had really great matches, and everybody's very supportive. So it's really like a really safe, wonderful place full of people who are really just each other up.
All right, so we're reaching just the top of the hour, so I just want to invite any last comments or any questions from our special guest or the other folks who are joining us in the Google Hangout.
I have a question for Eileen.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody who was looking more to become a mentor in order to expand their leadership profile? Like, what would you say would be some good tips for that, so that I could give back as a leader?
I think it would just be there is always publishing on Glassbreakers. Like, there's always the opportunity to write. I think that writing is a really great way to share yourself, your experiences, and help other women, because it affects not just one person. Like, when you write and when you put yourself out there, especially on the internet, whether it's on Glassbreakers Take the Lead in our content channel or on LinkedIn, you never know who that story is going to reach and the impact that can have on someone. So I'd say that's one way to really improve your thought leadership. And then B is make it super apparent on your profile that, like, you have X many years in this industry and you are, like, really good at this one thing, so that people know that that is what you can, like, really get back on and you can really mentor on. And then, hone that in those conversations of, like, here's where I can really help. And, like, what areas do you need help with? Here's what I might need help with. But be proud of your accomplishments and be proud of, like, how skilled you are in the areas that you're really, really good at.
I'm writing that right now. Be proud.
Be proud.
Amazing. So as we wrap up, any other questions or comments from folks? Okay, so thank you so much to everyone who joined. We appreciate your thoughts, and we will be broadcasting the live stream. We'll do some video editing and post it up online so you can watch again if you want to get some more tips. And if you have any questions that you didn't think of, please tweet at us at Take the Lead or at Glassbreakers or Gloria or Eileen, and we'll make sure to answer additional questions for you offline on social media.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much for coming today and for learning more.
Thank you so much, Eileen, and thanks again to our special guest, Sandy, our wonderful Take the Lead leadership ambassador, and Matrika, one of our early converts to Glassbreakers, who told such a great story about how she got connected.
Awesome. Have a lovely day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.